Welcome to Catch the Vision podcast, where we don't just talk about success. We talk about sometimes the moment that shapes it. And today's conversation is going to hit a little bit different because sometimes the most powerful stories don't come from the business wins. They come from life's hardest moments. Have you ever experienced something that changed you instantly? Something that forced you to see life differently, move differently, be different? Our guest today knows exactly what that feels like. She took one of the most painful moments a person can go through, and she turned it into a mission to see exactly what that feels like. She is the founder of Grief Can't Hold Me, GCHM, a movement that's not just about surviving loss, but learning how to live forward with a purpose. So if you ever dealt with grief, and I have, if you ever had to rebuild yourself emotionally, I have, or if you're trying to understand how pain can become your purpose, I'm a testament, then by all means, this conversation is for you. So Tay, I want to say welcome to Catch the Vision.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation.
Can you take us back to 2018? What's going on in 2018?
So 2018 was the 27th year of my oldest child's birth. It was her golden birthday, if you want to call it that.
The golden years.
The golden birthday. Where
the golden birthday.
Yes,
Okay.
where you become the age of the day that you were born.
Okay.
And because it was such a monumental time for her, she'd become a mom. She had 3 boys. The youngest had just turned 2 years old because he was born 10 days before, 7 days before her 27th birthday. So it was big. It was big for her. And I wanted to commemorate that moment. So I had a friend of mine from Minnesota who sold cars, drive a car from Minnesota to Texas so that we could present it to her for her 27th birthday.
Now, was this like a Mustang? Was it a...
It's a very cute Acura.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to make sure that there was a imprint for that 27th birthday.
Well, and I wanted to give her a support that I didn't have.
So why did you say the support you didn't have?
Well, when I was young, my mom had 4 kids, but my stepfather passed away and she now had to steward their children by herself.
Okay.
She worked a lot. She didn't have the opportunity to give us all the things. She was doing it alone. And I was like, well, what did I need when I was that age? What would I have wanted for somebody to give me? And what do I want to give her? Independence. So I gave her a car.
So now she has this Acura.
Yeah.
Right? What happens next?
Well, she was excited. That was the great part. But shortly after that following year, going into 17, so going into 18, on April 21st, 2018, at 7 p.m., I got a phone call.
You remember the time?
I do. I got a phone call. And at first, I didn't recognize the number, so I disregarded the call.
You hung up?
Yeah, I disregarded it. I didn't even answer it. Just looked at it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, swipe.
Or the voicemail.
Swipe left.
Yeah, okay.
And so the call came again. I was at the barbershop.
Number?
Yeah. I was at a barbershop in Arlington, salvaging then what was the worst hairdo on the planet. And so my barber was going to help make that look at least doable until everything grew back. And the call came again. And I thought, that's odd. 708. So I answered the phone. When I answered the phone, it was a Fort Worth police officer asking if I was the mother of Deja McKinley.
What was he asking?
I had no idea at the time. He just said, hey, are you Deja McKinley's mom? And I said, I am. Are you Miss Robinson? I am. He said, can you come pick up your grandsons?
She went to jail?
I was like, that's odd. That's odd. And I looked at my barber and I told you, I hung up and I said, well, I can be there I'm in Arlington, but I can be there in about 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. He said, okay, get here as fast as you can. But at that point, I wasn't triggered. I wasn't worried.
So you didn't, nothing?
Nothing. Not that sinking
I mean, because
feeling.
typically when the police call, like either our child in jail or something, you know what I'm saying? But
Well, I think the savings grace was I don't have the kind of kids that the Fort Worth Police Department
okay, so
would call me
I'm
for.
telling off of myself. Okay, keep going.
The worst thing that could have happened, my thought was, the worst thing that could have happened was,
Accident.
nope, driving ticket, you didn't pay it, and now your mom has got, they come and did a warrant roundup,
okay.
which is something we're unfamiliar with. We're not from Texas, but I know that here, back then, they used to do things like warrant roundups. So my initial thought was, great, let me check my account. I've got a ticket to pay. And I looked at my barber and I said, I got to go. And she said, okay. But the oddest thing happened. As I packed up my things to get ready to go, she looked at me and she said, I'm going to follow you.
Why?
I don't know. I think instinctively she felt something that hadn't yet downloaded.
Okay.
So we took off heading in that direction. And I was barely 9 minutes from the last phone call, and the officer called me again. And at that point, that's where it all kind of set in, where I was like, okay, something's wrong. And he said again, Miss Robinson, can you get here? I need you to get your grandboys. And I said, well, where's my daughter? And he deflected it. He said, well, just get here. And I was like, okay. Well, at that point in time, I lived in the townhomes behind my daughter's apartment complex. And so I said, hey, my mom lives with me. I can have somebody come. If somebody just needs to grab the boys, I can just have somebody come. And he said, okay. I hung up, called my mom, told her what was going on, and said, hey, go over to Deja's. They say, they got it. Somebody needs to grab the boys. And she said, okay, until she headed over. Nothing. I didn't have the, oh boy, this is bad. I was like, okay, they need somebody now.
Right.
Moments later, about maybe 5 to 6 minutes later, after that call to my mom, my mom called me. And now I'm on 30. I'm heading 30 West. And I'm like, okay, what's up? She said, I'm here, but there are a fleet of police officers here. I said, a fleet of police officers? For what? She said, and they won't let me go down to Deja's, and I'm scared. Well, now I'm agitated because I'm like, just ask questions now. Don't freak me out. Ask questions. I said, well, Mom, just ask questions. Ask somebody what's going on. So my mom's on the phone, and she walks over to an officer. And as she's walking over to the officer, she identifies herself, and the officer says who he is. And my mom said, well, where's my granddaughter? I'm Deja's grandmother. And the officer said, she's gone.
Like left the scene? Or
I was like, okay. And the next thing I heard was my mother let out this wail of anguish that I cannot get out of my memory to this day. My mother cried out for her mother, who has been passed away since I was about 7 or 8. And my mom came back to the phone, and she said, they said Deja's gone. And I said, gone where? She would never leave the boys. Where did she go, Mom? Ask them, where did she go? And my mom said, no. Taylor said Deja's gone. He said Deja's gone, and the third gone registered. I understood what the third gone meant, but I didn't believe it.
how long before you arrived on the scene?
About 12 minutes later. And when I arrived, the officers were, and she wasn't exaggerating, there were a fleet of police. And when I walked over, the officer said, are you Miss Robinson? I said, I am. He said, ma'am, I regret to inform you that your daughter, Deja Marie McKinley, was killed this evening. And I don't remember anything after that except walking into the leasing office of her apartment complex, and there was a woman holding my baby, the smallest of her children, and my two older grandsons were standing there. And the moment that they saw me, the middle one said, "Nana, Mom got dead. Chris killed Mom. Chris shot Mom."
Chris, who is Chris?
The ex-boyfriend.
What? So, I mean, what happened? I mean, what even would provoke someone? I don't care how bad a disagreement is. So,
They had been broken up for about 5.5, almost 6 months.
okay.
And what we now know is that he had been calling, driving by her home, stalking, but she never said anything.
Why?
If you asked me that today, if you asked me that then, I would say I don't know. But if you ask me that today, I know why. I believe that it's because she's my daughter, and she wanted to prove to me that she could handle herself. I'm as tough as you, Mom. I could take care of myself. But she took the night off work. She stayed in with her kiddos to just spend some time with them. She worked a lot. And what we now know is that he showed up. He started beating on the door in an attempt to kind of calm things. She opened the door. Her and the boys walked over to the door. She opened the door. A fight ensued, and he shot my daughter 5 times in front of her children.
So, the fleet of police, well, I guess they was pursuing him.
Yeah, he got away. So they were combing the area while at the same time managing the scene and making sure that we didn't go down.
Were they able to apprehend him?
He ran for a year. He was able to evade law for a year.
So how did they end up capturing him?
They actually captured him in a routine traffic stop in Springfield, Missouri.
We finished that together, didn't we?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, has he since been sentenced to prison?
Yeah.
Is he on death row?
COVID stopped that. So when COVID happened, they weren't doing in-person anything.
Right.
So he ran for a year. And oddly enough, we had just wrapped up filming an episode of America's Most Wanted. So after we filmed our episode of America's Most Wanted, they gave us all the logistics. This is when the episode will air. This is what you can expect. Be ready. Be ready, because this alerts the nation. So we're like, okay. Well, we did that early October. It was supposed to air October 19th. But on October 17th, another Fort Worth police officer called me. And she said, "Hi, this is Detective so-and-so. Is this Deja Marie McKinley's mom?" And I said, "This is." She said, "Tay Robinson?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "Miss Robson, I wanted to call and inform you that we have arrested Christopher Manning for the murder of Deja Marie McKinley."
What did that moment feel like for you?
Triumph, justice, retribution. When someone kills your child and runs for a year and justice is not served and the police cannot find that person,
Right.
you feel like your child's loss is of little importance. Her life didn't matter enough for people to pursue this. You didn't steal my car. You didn't rob my house. You took a life, and that should matter. That should matter a lot more.
So, what was his sentence?
He was sentenced to 30 years in jail, 30 years in prison, of which he had already served about 2.5, 3, because of COVID. He sat.
So what age was he when he went in?
I think he might have been. Him and Deja weren't too much different. So This was only a few years ago, probably three years, so maybe 4 years. He had to be probably 30.
So he'll be 60 when he get out.
Yeah.
Is he eligible for any type of parole?
No.
Okay, that's good.
No.
That's good.
Not that I'm aware of, at least.
Okay. So how did you handle the grief process? Because, that's no one as a parent anticipate to bury their child, right?
Yeah.
We don't anticipate that. We anticipate them,
Mm-hmm.
handling up us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did you go through the grieving process and then, kind of take us a little bit through that, and then, how did you come out?
I didn't go through the grief process. The night that my daughter was killed, I inherited her 3 babies, which that was just going to happen anyway. But I also have 2 remaining children, and my children were very close. They were best friends. They were each other's support system. Mm-hmm. My mom's first grandchild, oldest grandchild. So I didn't get to go through the grief process immediately. My grieving process came 7 years later. 6 years later.
What year was this?
2 years ago.
2024.
Yeah. And I started breaking. And I started.
So how did it happen? What was that defining moment?
The defining moment when I knew that I needed to navigate my own grief was I hadn't gotten out of bed for 7 days, hadn't showered, hadn't done anything. All I did was cry. And I realized this is more than grief. This is something else. Why is this happening now? I had spent the last 6 years remembering her a lot of different ways. We raised money for domestic violence awareness. We balloon release, other things that we did for a community to bring awareness to different aspects of it, stalking, kids of trauma, grief, domestic violence. But I realized in 2024 that I could not, no matter what happened, I couldn't die with my daughter. And that was my defining moment. 7 days in bed, I realized I was dying. I was dying from grief.
And so how did the idea of grief can't hold me go from an idea to a movement?
Grief can't hold me. So every year we would do something, of course, because I'm the nana mom to her children. Mm-hmm. So I always want to do something to commemorate that moment, to have an opportunity of remembrance for them so that they never had to forget, but that their pain, their struggle, their story was acknowledged. And I told God, I said, God, we've done this and we've done that to honor and remember her, but I want something that does more than just affect my life. I want something that has an impact on the lives of individuals who are experiencing the same thing that I am. I need something that does more than just make me feel good. I need something that shifts atmospheres. Because this has the power to kill you. And I prayed on it. I went to bed that night. I woke up the next morning and the entire project was laid out. I knew exactly what to do. I knew what to put in the bags. I knew what animal to use. It's stuffed animals. Do I want elephants? Do I want gorillas? Do you want what do you want? No, you want teddy bears. Why
teddy bear?
Teddy bears are the national symbol for love. When you give a teddy bear, it's an affection. It's love. It's to somebody that you care a great deal for. It's remembrance. It's presence. So, teddy bears it was. But moreover than that, it was.
And do you just like what does that concept look like? Do you just go around handing out teddy bears, kind of? Because oh. Okay, so kind of walk us through this. I said, did she come from the state fair or what?
No, so this is so the Teddy Bear Project is just a part of GCHM.
Okay,
it is the most tangible part of GCHM. We also provide virtual support groups online for individuals who have experienced significant loss, especially the loss of a child. I also train grief support peers. If you were to say that you wanted to stop drinking and you had a problem with alcohol, what would you get when you joined Alcoholics Anonymous?
A book?
A sponsor.
Well, yeah, a sponsor. Yeah.
You'd get a sponsor.
Yeah.
If you decided that you wanted to stop using drugs,
Sponsor?
so why don't you get a sponsor or someone to walk alongside you in the worst time of your life? So I train individuals and make them capable and ready to walk alongside grieving families or individuals who have experienced significant loss. And this is just the first part of it.
So do you mind taking that out?
I don't.
And kind of go through
So-
everything?
I can.
Okay.
So teddy bears, why teddy bears? Because teddy bears are the symbol of affection and appreciation, love, and presence. We choose bears 14 inches or taller, not too big, no more than 15. Why? Because they're huggable. And grief is nothing more than love with nowhere to go. So if you can't hug and hold your loved one, your child, this bear becomes the presence of that person that is missing.
Is there a letter in there?
There's a lot of things in here.
Okay.
So,
Pull out the biggest letter.
So the next thing that we include is the Mourner Bill of Rights.
Okay.
And the Mourner's Bill of Rights tells you what your rights are as a mourner.
So it's 10 of them.
Yes.
All right, so let me just I want to paraphrase this. The mourner's bills of right. Number one, you have the right to experience your own unique grief. Number two, you have the right to talk about your grief.
Yep.
Number three, you have the right to feel a multitude of emotions.
Yep.
4, you have the right to be tolerant of your physical and emotional limits. 5, you have the right to experience grief bursts.
Yeah.
6, you have the right to make use of ritual.
Yeah.
7, you have the right to embrace your spirituality. 8, you have the right to search for meaning. 9, you have the right to treasure your memories. And 10, you have the right to move toward your grief and heal. Wow,
Yes.
that's powerful. 10.
So we give you a frameable copy of the Mourner's Bill of Rights. And why is that important? Because oftentimes we don't know how to show up as mourners. Most people expect for us to show up in the version of us before the break, before the loss. But this helps them understand where their boundaries are. Next, we include a pamphlet, a brochure that tells you all the services that Grief Can't Hold Me provide, the online support groups, the grief support peers, the resources for therapy, but also it teaches the 5 stages of grief. Next, it tells Deja's story. It tells the origin of where Grief Can't Hold Me came from. Then we include this little card here that you get signed by me that says for you. And what it is when you open this up, it tells you how to care for yourself while you're grieving.
Okay.
So this is specifically about you and for you. It also highlights the 5 stages of grief, but it tells you how to take care of yourself while you're grieving. Because oftentimes when you're grieving, the body keeps the score. You're aching, you have brain fog, memory losses, trouble sleeping, pains that you can't identify. So this helps you to navigate that. Then, because I am a believer, we include a today's prayer.
Okay.
And we randomly select these. There are scriptures that we just randomly select, and they end up where they end up, but they always end up in the right hands. They always speak to the life of the person that they show up at. Then you get the footprints. A copy, a small one for you to put in your wallet, because oftentimes those grief ambushes that happen at work, or while you're in the grocery store, or when you wake up in the morning and you hear a song that reminds you of them. This is just your gentle reminder that you're being carried. You're not walking alone. God carries you. Then there's just another little card with another little scripture that we just put in there. It's a different type of scripture. So even though you got your today's prayer, that's what you're praying. This is what you're carrying. Then, because we have amazing donors, people will donate things like legacy pins. So this just says you're not alone. You can wear it on your lapel or on your shirt or whatever. It helps to you remember that your kiddo is with you, or your loved one is with you, however that loss came about. Then amazing donors. So one of my friends who is literally, Jessica is amazing. She donated 72 of these little stress balls with affirmations on them. Because again, there's that stress. You got to pour it somewhere. And so all together, we created a grief survival kit.
Okay.
And so that's what you get when you get a GCHM teddy bear through the Teddy Bear Project. And we're still growing. We're still growing.
Now, is that for somebody?
It is. It's for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll put it back together.
Okay. So, protecting this mission,
Yeah.
Tay, how important is that for you, and what have you experienced?
Protecting this mission, it's not just a mission, it's an assignment. I didn't realize until 2 years ago when I started GCHM that everything I've ever done in my life prepared me for the worst time of my life. Every job I've ever had, I've been in social work and social services for 34 years. I've walked alongside individuals in the darkest times of their life, including loss and grief. I went to school for clinical psychology and family studies. I'm now in my master's of marriage and family therapy program right now. But everything that I'd gone through, being a young mom, being a kiddo who survived a home with domestic violence, a parent who was on drugs at one time, everything that I'd gone through prepared me for the time that I would go through the darkest valley of my life. The resilience, the stick-to-itiveness, the spirituality, the prayers, holding on to my faith. I learned all of that through all the other experiences in my life long before I lost my daughter. And that's how I've been able to survive it.
Wow. For someone who's going to watch this, right? What do you want them to hear from you directly? And what I want you to do is that third camera to your right. I want you to look at that camera, and I want you to speak to that parent who has lost a child. It may have been years ago. To that parent who lost a child today. To that parent who lost a child a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What do you say to them? What do you want them to hear?
To the parent who has lost their child, I want you to know that that child's life matters. You're not crazy. It is as bad as it feels, but you do not have to die with your child. You are not alone. God in heaven has recorded everything that you have gone through. You are being sustained, you are being carried, and you don't have to do this by yourself. This is not just a moment in my life. This is a mission. And grief can't hold you because grief can't hold me. So hear me when I say this. Together we heal because healing is winning.
If your daughter could see everything that has been built today, what do you think she would share with you?
If my daughter could see everything that was built today, she would say, "You got this, Mom. If anybody can do this, you can do it." If anybody has the ability to walk in the ministry of presence for people who are hurting, you can do this, Mom.
Your book, Hey You.
Yeah.
Tell us about your book.
So I've been a writer since I was about 12. I authored my first book in 2014, and then the world shifted, and I lost my baby, and I stopped writing altogether. And a year ago, right around the time that I decided to investigate turning GCHM into a 501c3, I said, God, I don't know how to tell this story. And again, I woke up 4 months later, and here we are with a 5-book healing workbook series called Hey You. And it's about the mirror. It's about the dwelling. It's about the shift. It's about life. It's about forgiveness. People ask oftentimes, well, what do you think? How do you feel about the person that took your daughter's life? I forgave him. And I didn't forgive him because I'm such an amazing person or I'm an extraordinary Christian. I forgave him because I was breaking. And in order to raise her children with the love and light that I raised her, I could not carry that level of unforgiveness. So I forgave him consciously, willingly. I made the choice. And so, hey, it's about shifting. It's about pivoting. It's about identity, because who you were before your loss may never be who you are after. And grief is not linear. It does not go in a straight line. It does not operate on a calendar, but neither does healing. It zigs, it zags, it plateaus, it pivots.
Pain doesn't have to be the end of your story.
Sometimes it's the beginning.
It can be the reason someone else survived theirs. Tay, I want to thank you, not just for sharing your story, but having the courage to build something that's helping others to heal.
Thank you.
And for everyone who's watching, if any part of this conversation spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this with someone who needs it. Be sure to grab the book. We'll have those details on how you can, donate to purchasing the book, or don't make donations in general. All that'll be available to you, because you never know who's silently grieving, and this might be the message that reaches them. This is Catch the Vision podcast, where real stories create real impact.